welcome back to Why I Hate Being a Wife. I'm your host, and today we're talking about something that makes my blood boil. Men who think parenting begins and ends with a paycheck. You know the type, right? The guy who works, pays the bills, and then acts like he's Father of the Year because he provides. Meanwhile, you're doing literally everything else. You're feeding the kids, bathing them, getting them dressed, taking them to school, helping with homework, managing their emotions, scheduling their appointments, keeping track of their growth and development, teaching them how to be human beings. But he paid for the pull-ups, so he's a good dad. He deposited money in the account. Maybe, possibly. Who knows how much actually? So he's doing his part. He's providing. And you're supposed to be grateful. Never mind that providing is the absolute bare minimum. Never mind that money doesn't raise children. Never mind that his financial contribution doesn't mean shit if he's not actually present, not actually parenting, not actually raising his kids. Today, we're talking about men who think the check is the childhood, and why that's complete bullshit. Let's start with where this comes from, the provider mentality. This idea that a man's job as a father is to provide financially, and everything else is extra. Like if he does anything beyond earning money, he deserves a medal. He's helping out. He's babysitting his own kids. He's going above and beyond. And women, our job is everything else. We're supposed to handle the actual raising of the children while he handles the money. That's the deal, right? That's the traditional setup. Except it's fucking ridiculous. Because providing financially is one aspect of parenting. It's important, sure. Kids need food, shelter, clothes, medical care. Money matters. But it's not parenting. It's resourcing. Parenting is the day-to-day, minute-by-minute work of raising a human being. It's the feeding and the bathing and the emotional regulation and the teaching and the comforting and the disciplining and the playing and the reading and the tucking in and the waking up in the middle of the night and the managing of schedules and needs and feelings. That's parenting. Writing a check? That's not parenting. That's paying for someone else to do the parenting. And when men act like their financial contribution is equivalent to the actual work of raising children, they are delusional. So, let's talk about what these men think they are doing. They think that because they go to work every day, they are fulfilling their role as a father. They think that because they pay the bills, they've earned the right to come home and do nothing. They think that because money comes out of their paycheck for the family, they are sacrificing. They are providing. They are doing their part. And in their minds, that's enough. You should be grateful. You should appreciate them. You should recognize how hard they work, how much they sacrifice, how much they provide. Meanwhile, what are you doing? Oh, just everything else. You are waking up with the kids, you are making breakfast, you are getting them dressed, and if you have multiple kids, you are doing this multiple times with multiple meltdowns, multiple wardrobe changes, multiple negotiations over what is and isn't acceptable to wear to school. You are packing lunches. You are remembering which kid has a field trip and which one needs library books returned and which one has a project due. You are getting them to school or homeschooling them or managing virtual school or whatever form of education is in place right now. You are managing their emotions throughout the day. You are the one they come to when they are sad, scared, angry, frustrated, confused. You're the emotional dumping ground and the comfort provider and the problem solver. You're scheduling and taking them to doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, therapy appointments if they need it, school meetings, extracurricular activities. You're doing homework with them. You're teaching them to read, to write, to do math, to think critically. You're feeding them again and again and again because kids eat constantly and always at inconvenient times. You're bathing them, you're brushing their teeth, or fighting with them about brushing their teeth. You're doing bedtime routines that take an hour and a half when they should take 20 minutes. You're the one who gets up in the middle of the night when they are sick, when they have nightmares, when they wet the bed, when they just need reassurance. You're managing their social lives, their friendships, their conflicts with other kids. You're teaching them how to be decent human beings, how to share, how to be kind, how to handle disappointment, how to manage anger, how to think about other people's feelings. You're keeping them alive. You're raising them. You're shaping who they are going to become. But sure, he paid for the groceries, so you're even, right? Let's do some math here. If he works 40 hours a week, that's his contribution. 40 hours. How many hours are you parenting? Well, let's see. You're on call 24/7. Even when you're sleeping, you're on call. Even when you're doing something else, you're still responsible for the kids. But let's be conservative. Let's say you're actively parenting, doing childcare tasks, managing their needs for just 12 hours a day. That's probably low, but let's go with it. 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's 84 hours a week. He's working 40. You're working 84. But his 40 hours are real work because money comes out of it. Your 84 hours are just what? What you're supposed to do? Your job as a mom? Okay, fine. Let's say both things are work. He works 40 hours for money. You work 84 hours raising children. That's not equal. That's not even close. And yet, he acts like his contribution is equal to or greater than yours because his has a dollar amount attached to it. Never mind that if you weren't doing those 84 hours of childcare, you'd have to pay someone to do it. And that would cost a hell of a lot more than he's currently providing. But he doesn't think about it that way. He doesn't value your labor because it's not paid labor. And that's the problem. Now, let's talk about what happens when men use their financial contribution as a weapon. When they hold it over your head. When they remind you that they're the one paying the bills. So you should be grateful. You should be compliant. You should accept whatever they give you and not ask for more. When they control the money and dole it out in bits and pieces, making you beg for basic necessities. When they say things like, I put $400 in the account for you, but you can't see the account, and when you try to use the money, it's mysteriously not there. When they act like every dollar they spend on the family is a personal sacrifice that you should appreciate. When they throw their financial contribution in your face anytime you ask for something, anytime you complain, anytime you suggest they should do more. I work all day to provide for this family, and this is the thanks I get? Yeah, you work all day, and I work all day and all night. The difference is you get a paycheck, and I get nothing. You get to leave the house and interact with adults and have a lunch break and use the bathroom alone. I get to stay home with the kids who need me every second of every day, and I don't get breaks. I don't get lunch hours. I don't get to clock out. But sure, your job is harder because there's money involved. When men use money as a weapon, when they use their financial contribution to justify not doing anything else, to control you, to make you feel like you owe them, that's not providing. That's financial abuse. And it doesn't matter how much money they make. It doesn't matter if they're bringing in 6 figures or minimum wage. If they're using money to control you and excuse themselves from actual parenting, it's abuse. So let's talk about what actual parenting looks like. Actual parenting is being present, not physically in the house while scrolling on your phone or watching TV. Actually present. Engaged with your kids. Paying attention to them. Actual parenting is knowing your kids. Knowing what they like, what they are afraid of, what makes them happy, what they are struggling with. Knowing their friends' names, their teachers' names, what's going on in their lives. Actual parenting is doing the daily tasks, feeding them, bathing them, getting them ready, putting them to bed, not helping with these things, doing them regularly without being asked. Actual parenting is emotional labor, managing their feelings, teaching them to manage their own feelings, being the safe person they can come to with anything. Actual parenting is teaching, not just academic stuff. but life skills: how to tie their shoes, how to make a sandwich, how to clean up after themselves, how to treat other people with respect. Actual parenting is showing up to the school play, to the soccer game, to the parent-teacher conference, not because you have to, but because you want to be part of their lives. Actual parenting is sacrifice, not financial sacrifice, although that's part of it. But sacrificing your time, your energy, your sleep, your hobbies, your social life, putting their needs first, day after day, even when you're exhausted. Actual parenting is partnership, splitting the work with the other parent, not 60-40, not 70-30, 50-50. Both people are doing equal amounts of the actual work of raising children. And here's the thing. If a man is doing these things, actually parenting, he doesn't need to remind you that he's providing financially because his contribution is obvious. It's visible. You can see it in how he interacts with the kids, how much he knows about them, how involved he is. But if all he's doing is working and paying bills, and he has to constantly remind you of that fact, that tells you everything. That tells you his financial contribution is the only contribution he's making, and he knows it, and he's defensive about it. Let's address the classic line, "I provide so you can stay home with the kids." First of all, stay home is a bullshit phrase. It makes it sound like you're sitting on the couch eating bonbons while he's out there working hard. You're not staying home. You're working from home. You're doing childcare, household management, cooking, cleaning, scheduling, emotional labor. You're working. You're just not getting paid. Second, this framing makes it sound like he's doing you a favor, like you should be grateful that his income allows you to stay home. But let's flip that around. You staying home to raise the kids allows him to work without worrying about child care. You managing the household allows him to focus on his career. You doing all the invisible labor allows him to live his life without having to think about any of it. You're not the beneficiary of his paycheck. He's the beneficiary of your unpaid labor. If you weren't doing all of this, he'd have to pay for child care, housekeeping, meal prep, scheduling services, emotional support. He'd have to take time off work for sick kids, for appointments, for school events. Your labor enables his career, not the other way around. You're both contributing to the family in different ways, and both contributions are necessary. The difference is his contribution is valued and compensated. Yours isn't. And let's talk about the language of helping. I helped with the kids today. I'm helping out around the house. I helped put them to bed. Helping implies that it's not your job. Helping implies that the default responsibility is someone else's and you're just pitching in. But these are his kids. This is his house. This is his life. He's not helping. He's parenting. He's doing what he's supposed to do as a father. You don't get credit for helping with your own responsibilities. That's just called doing your job. But men have been conditioned to think that anything beyond earning money is extra. That if they change a diaper, they're going above and beyond. That if they watch the kids for an afternoon, they are babysitting. You're not babysitting your own kids. You are parenting them. And when men use the language of helping, it reveals how they see the division of labor. It reveals that they think childcare and household work is your job and anything they do is a bonus. That's the problem right there. Let me tell you about my situation. My husband provides, he works, he pays bills. Allegedly, he says he puts money in the account. And because of this, he thinks he's done. He thinks he's fulfilled his role as a father and husband. Meanwhile, I'm doing everything else. I'm cleaning up his messes, literally. I'm asking him for basic necessities, like menstrual products, and being ignored. I'm trying to manage a household budget with no access to the account, no visibility into what's actually there, no ability to plan. I asked him what charges came out of the account so I could plan for food and transportation. You know what he told me? Pencil and paper together. You will know exactly how much you're spending. But I can't track what I can't see. I can't write down charges I don't know about. I can't manage money I have no access to. And when I tried to explain this calmly, clearly, without arguing, he read my message and didn't respond. Because he doesn't care. Because as long as he's providing or claiming to provide, he thinks he's done his part. Never mind that I can't buy groceries. Never mind that I can't get the things the kids need. Never mind that I'm managing everything else while he does nothing. He pays bills, allegedly, so he's a good father. He's a provider, and I should be grateful. But I'm not grateful. I'm exhausted. I'm angry. I'm done. Because a check is not a childhood. Money is not parenting. And I'm tired of doing everything while he does the bare minimum and acts like he's father of the year. Let's talk about what this does to kids. When a father is present only financially, when he's not involved in the daily work of raising them, kids notice. They notice that dad goes to work and comes home and that's it. They notice that mom is the one who does everything for them. They notice that when they are hurt, they go to mom. When they're scared, they go to mom. When they need something, they ask mom. They learn that dad is not the person you go to for comfort, for help, for support. Dad is just there in the background, paying for things. And that shapes how they see parenting, how they see relationships, how they see gender roles. Your sons learn that being a father means earning money and that's it. They learn that they don't have to be emotionally present, don't have to do the daily work, don't have to actually raise their kids. They just have to have a job. Your daughters learn that being a mother means doing everything. They learn that they'll be responsible for all the invisible labor and all the emotional work, all the daily tasks. They learn that their future partners won't help, won't share the load, won't be actual partners. They learn that this is normal, that this is how families work, and they'll repeat the pattern unless you show them something different, unless you refuse to accept this dynamic, unless you demand better, unless you leave if better isn't possible. A lot of men will defend this with, "That's how I was raised. My dad worked and my mom took care of everything else. That's what I know." Okay, fine. That's what you know. But you're a grown adult now. You have the ability to learn new things. You have the ability to question what you were taught. You have the ability to do better than your parents did. "That's how I was raised" is not an excuse. It's an explanation, sure, but it's not a justification. You know what else people were raised with? Racism, sexism, homophobia, all kinds of toxic beliefs and behaviors. And we expect people to unlearn those things. We expect people to grow, to evolve, to do better. So why do we accept "that's how I was raised" as an excuse for men to not parent their own children? We don't, or at least we shouldn't. If you were raised in a household where your father didn't do shit and your mother did everything, you have two choices. You can repeat that pattern and perpetuate the same dysfunction, or you can recognize that it was unfair to your mother, that it harmed your relationship with your father, and that you want to do better for your own kids. If you choose the first option, you're choosing to be a shitty father and a shitty partner. And "that's how I was raised" doesn't make it okay. Here's what men who only provide financially are actually teaching their kids. They're teaching them that money is more important than presence. They're teaching them that work is more important than family. They're teaching them that fathers are optional in the daily life of children. They're teaching them that mothers are servants. They're teaching them that emotional labor is women's work. They're teaching them that it's okay to be absent as long as you're paying the bills. Is that what you want your kids to learn? Is that the model you want to give them? Because I don't. I don't want my kids to think this is normal. I don't want my sons to think they can be fathers without actually parenting. I don't want my daughters to think they have to accept doing everything while their partner does nothing. I want better for them, and that means they need to see better. They need to see me refuse to accept this. They need to see me demand more. They need to see me leave if necessary. Because modeling self-respect is more important than modeling a two-parent household that's dysfunctional. People will tell you, "At least he provides. At least he's not a deadbeat dad. At least he's paying the bills." And sure, okay, financial provision is better than no financial provision, but that's such a low bar. That's like saying, at least he doesn't hit you, at least he doesn't cheat, at least he comes home at night. Those aren't achievements. Those are bare minimum expectations. Providing financially for your children is not something you get a medal for. It's literally the legal requirement. You are legally obligated to support your children. So no, I'm not going to be grateful that he's doing the bare legal minimum while I do everything else. I'm not going to accept, at least he provides, as a reason to stay in a marriage where I'm doing 90% of the work. I'm not going to settle for financial provision when what I need, what the kids need, is an actual partner, an actual parent, someone who's present, involved, engaged. Money is not enough, and I'm done pretending it is. You want to know what I actually need? I need a partner who parents, who knows what size clothes the kids wear, who knows when their next doctor's appointment is, who knows what they're learning in school, who knows what they're struggling with. I need someone who does bedtime without being asked, who gets up in the middle of the night when the kids need something, who makes breakfast and packs lunches and helps with homework. I need someone who notices when something needs to be done and just does it, who doesn't wait for me to ask, to remind, to manage. I need someone who values my labor as much as his own, who recognizes that what I do every day is work, even though there's no paycheck attached. I need someone who doesn't use money as a weapon, who doesn't hold financial provision over my head, who doesn't act like I should be grateful for the bare minimum. I need an actual partner. And if all I'm getting is a paycheck, or, in my case, the promise of a paycheck that may or may not actually exist, then I don't need him. I can get money from the state. I can apply for SNAP, for cash assistance, for support services. What I can't get from the state is a partner. But I also don't need a partner who isn't actually partnering. I'd rather be alone with support from programs than married to someone who thinks his only job is to pay bills and that my job is everything else. So, here's what I want to say to men who think parenting begins and ends with financial contribution. You're not a good father because you provide financially. You're meeting a legal obligation. Congratulations, you're doing the bare minimum. If you're not present in your kids' lives, if you're not present in your kids' daily lives, if you're not doing the actual work of raising them, if you're not partnering with their mother to share the load, then you're not parenting. You're just funding someone else's parenting. And to the women who are doing everything while their partners do nothing but provide financially, you're not obligated to be grateful. You're not obligated to accept this is just how marriage is. You're not obligated to stay with someone who won't actually parent their own children. You deserve a partner. You deserve someone who shows up. You deserve someone who values your labor and shares the work. And if he can't or won't do that, then his financial contribution doesn't make up for it. The check is not the childhood. Money is not parenting. And you don't have to accept less than you deserve just because he pays the bill. Alright, that's it for this episode. Next time we're talking about something else. I'm not sure yet. Until then, remember, providing is the bare minimum. Parenting is everything else. And you deserve both. This is Why I Hate Being a Wife. I'm your host, and I'll see you next time. Take care.